What's going on, guys? This is John from Texas Wiles,
Rooster from Rooster Outdoors.
and you are listening to the Wiley Rooster Boys Outdoor Podcast. We are glad you guys joined us for this one. We got us a Halloween special,
Boogie boogie.
and guess who's back? It's Mike,
Big Slaws here.
the Slaw Dog.
Just loud.
We got some pretty good stories. I'll say that. My story's probably going to suck. Sorry, guys. But they got some pretty good stories to share with you guys in this episode. This is going to be kind of a, creepy and spooky things that have happened to you while you're out and about in the woods and stuff like that. But before we get into all that, we do want to thank you guys for all the support you guys have been giving us. Our listenership is up, and that's awesome. We really appreciate you guys. We have a lot of things there's a lot of doors that seem to be pretty close to opening for us. Rooster, if you want to expand on that a little bit here in a second, I'll let you go into that. But, we have the support available for this show now. We have, Rooster, why don't you go ahead and tell them about the community?
Well, here recently, by a train of events, met this fella. He's actually going to be a guest down the road. Haven't quite got the date yet, but probably looking towards the end of November, somewhere in there. This fella's name is Matty. He has a YouTube called Backwood Minded. And
I think it's Backwoods Mindset. Is it Backwoods
Mindset? Thank you. Correct. Yes, thank you very much. Got talking to him. He messaged me on Instagram, and we got the just talking. Kind of stopped in, just kind of visit with him. Well, I got introduced to this community, and I mean it's awesome community of folk, just everyday folk, just trying to do what they love, just share it. And I've been talking to them. Well, he's all excited about it, and he was really, really interested in what we were doing here with the podcast. And, he really liked what he's heard so far. So I believe the 8th, I'm supposed to go on live with him. We're going to talk a little bit about the show, get them introduced to the Wiley Rooster Boys here. So that's going to be pretty nice.
Yeah.
But it's been an awesome community, and I can't say that enough. I mean, these folk have been nothing but the nicest. Yeah, I can't wait for you to meet a lot of them, John. I mean, they're just.
I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
That's kind of what we're looking forward to there. So.
I mean, everything I've seen of them guys, it's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff, man. I like it.
Yeah, and his YouTube is phenomenal. I mean, this guy, Mike.
Yeah.
He had a video out the other day showing you how to start a fire with Doritos.
Oh man, really?
Yeah. And I mean, he's got a pretty neat channel. It really is. A lot of out of the box ideas. He does a bunch of lives. I watched him catch a channel cat the other night.
I jumped off right before that, man. I shouldn't have jumped off.
Yeah, you shouldn't have. But you got things going on, and everybody understands that.
Right.
Life comes first, So.
I tell you, it's really with. And thanks again, guys, for having me on here. I really enjoy it. I've definitely been looking forward to this show. But I think when you get a bunch of guys that are into outdoors, different kind, all the different genres of outdoor living,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to say entertainment, but just the outdoor life. It's probably one of the best things is just sharing ideas and learning.
Absolutely.
And passing the stuff on. And it reminds me when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, when I first started, first few times I went deer hunting, the greatest thing was sitting around, the week before with all your buddies and getting all the guns cleaned and
Mm-hmm.
talking about what you were going to do. And just some of the greatest memories.
Well, I'm telling you, before Rooster and I did that survival challenge of ours, man, that's all we could think about. That's all we could talk about. All we could prep for. This idea after idea after idea. That we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and man, the excitement level that you feel whenever you're about to get out there and you're about to just get into it. there's nothing comparable in my book.
Yeah, that Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, shoot, we visited the site what was it, a couple weeks back, John?
Yeah, we can have 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was just like kicking the fields. Though that's me and John were sitting there like, man,
it was emotional.
I just want to set my hammock back up.
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah, it was. It was nice, but I think that's about all we got for old
Well,
news and housekeeping. Housekeeping, you think?
yeah, I believe. I also want to mention last week's episode we kind of touched on. Me and Texas Wiles started dabbling into our own merchandise for store.
Oh,
Um,
you're right.
well, today I finally received my merchandise. And I told you guys, I kind of wanted to see the quality first before we really promoted it. And I'm gonna tell you, t-shirt wise, pretty impressed so far. Ain't gonna know 100% until give it a wash or two. Make sure the print's gonna stay on. I got a coffee mug that looks awesome. I mean, it looks really, really good. I don't think it's gonna fade real fast. The only thing I have a problem with so far, and I don't know, this is mainly on mine. Um, if you order any stickers, the one with my logo is fine, but I've got to get on there and take off the one that says Rooster Outdoors because that sticker is no way no. Uh, it's just so small. It wasn't even worth the money.
That's a shame.
I don't know if I can scale the size up or what, but it came out so small.
Do you think that's what it was? Do you think it was the scaling was off, or do you think it was a
I
misprint?
don't know.
Or
These stickers they come in a 4x4 platform.
hmm.
Well, I don't know if because Rooster Outdoors is so long, they can't make it taller. I don't know what the deal is. This thing ain't. It says it's 0.77 inches tall, but the actual lettering is maybe a half inch tall.
Oh wow.
So I mean, it's real small, and I'm not pleased with that sticker. The other sticker was fine. It's just the one, so I'm gonna have to get it off the store so nobody wastes their money on that one. But
Well,
other
that's,
than that, so far I'm pleased.
I'm still see what happened with mine is see I uploaded my design uh for a certain set of merchandise, and what I think happened is see that design was under review, and it took about a week for it to get out of review. Well, as soon as I got the design through, I ordered something from the stuff that was under review. It's a haversack, but it said shipped 2 days later, and I'm thinking, cool. I figured have to wait until it cleared and all that stuff. Well, a week goes by, and I'm just thinking, what's going on? Because every time I try to check the tracking on the link, it says, the postal service or whatever, UPS, whichever it was, they never even received it. So I contacted the company, Spreadshop, and I said, hey, this is what's going on. They said, well, here's a tracking number, and I understand. I said that, when I go to the tracking, it says that it hasn't been received, and they said, oh, so I guess they figured out that it got lost somehow, and they sent out another one, and it shipped yesterday. So as soon as I get that haversack in, I will let you guys know about that. I don't know about any of you guys out there, or you two, Mike, Rooster, if you guys love haversacks as much as I do. I love them, especially the canvas ones.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to get them. Like I said, that was what I was wanting to get. I was kind of holding off for other reasons, and now that you got yours coming, I can't wait to see it, dude.
It's gonna be nice.
Yes.
Well, I tell you, you kind of got me at a little bit of a loss here. Just explain to me exactly what a haversack is. I think I know, but what is a haversack?
It's essentially a backpack, but it's not a backpack. It is. You can wear it as a backpack, but it's basically just one pouch. It's one pocket. It's just the bag, but it has a flap.
Yeah, go ahead. You were actually touching on what I was about to say.
Yeah, it's got a flap, and it can either have buckles or clips or something like that. What I want to
Yeah, more of an old style an old style pack.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. What I want it for is my bedding, my hammock,
Yeah, good
rain
idea.
fly, stuff like that. And whenever we're out in the woods and I have all my bedding and stuff out of it, I use that for collecting stuff. Like I can, put rocks in it that I'm bringing back, or put a certain vegetation that I'm bringing back, or kindling, or whatever. I can just use that bag because it's canvas. You really ain't gonna tear it up. Well, I say that. I'll let you guys know an honest review of it when I get it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, before we get into the body of our show, let's take a break. We'll be right back. So as we mentioned when we started, this is the Halloween special. We actually, was this your idea, Rooster? I think it was your idea.
Yeah.
It's been, well, several weeks. So Mike, it was the last time you were on. We made this decision. And I'm looking forward to it. So I don't want to, just shoot from the hip. But since I probably have the least interesting story among the three of us, I figured maybe I should start it off so we don't end it on a dull moment. There's two instances. One of them, I'll just touch Cliff Notes. So, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning. You can see your breath. You can hear the crickets. You can hear what I now know are pump jacks in the distance. I'm out there, and it's just before the sun comes up. I say it was 4 o'clock. It was probably later than that, but it was just before the sun comes up. Everything's still black, but it's not black. Well, I see this mass about 20 yards from me.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot make it out. All I can see is that something is blacker than the black. And it moves. It's moving erratically, but I don't hear anything. I got the windows open on the blind. I don't hear anything. And then it goes over and it disappears behind a tree. Or I guess it would be a bush. Cedar. It was a big, voluptuous cedar. Can I say that on here? So anyway, I'm sitting there, and a few minutes goes by, and I'm not thinking nothing of it, and all of a sudden I felt a little bit of a cough. And if you guys are anything like me, when you're out there in the blind, you try to stifle every single noise you possibly can.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to do that awkward cough where you don't make a noise, and then it ends up me choking, and then I make more noise, and then all of a sudden, that black mass that I had forgotten about came running towards the blind at Mach 17. All right, it looked like it was about to come right through the window of the blind, and it went right by me. To this day, I can't tell you what it was, but what I can tell you is that I probably should have brought an extra pair of drawers out there. I don't know what it was. It was probably a deer, but just the fact that I never heard anything, even whenever it was getting it, I never heard a single sound. I don't know what it was.
Oh yeah,
but
still, I mean, you're out there. It's still a little airy.
It is. It was kind of creepy, but that's probably a lot worse than my other one.
Man, I think you sell that story a little short, man. That I can picture that in my mind, and I know how your vision is. You're especially when you try to look right at something when it's like that. It's much harder to see, but the way our eyes are made, it's much harder to see than to look off to the side and see it.
Yeah,
and that is scary as all get out.
Oh, it got me. I'm gonna tell you what, it did. And it's like, that you can't do nothing else. You just flinch and make a stupid noise,
What I want to know is what do pump jacks play in all this thing?
Well, when I first moved out here to the ranch, this is my first time hunting out here, and I wasn't thinking of there being pump jacks or anything around these areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I still can't understand why. No, I'll just tell you the story. All right. So I'm out there again. It's dark. I got all the windows open on the blind because it was early in the season. It was still a little bit warm. I wasn't quite bundled up yet. But back there in the back, there's a canyon, and that's my best explanation for what I'm going to tell you. The way sound travels through that canyon. Well,
Mm-hmm.
these noises that I kept hearing, they would be rhythmic for a little bit, then they'd quit, and then they'd come back and they'd be almost sporadic but really loud, and then they'd go away. And this would go on for I don't know about 30 minutes, and okay, this involves another animal, but the reason I was on edge is because I didn't know what those noises were. It was the pump jacks. But anyway, what happened was the pump jacks shut off, and I was listening to it. I was getting lulled by it, the rhythmic part of it, and I'm like, all right, I'm kind of sleepy, and I got up early and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, probably about 2 foot right outside the blind, this pig squeals and runs off. So,
Sorry.
when you're distracted and you're getting lulled by rhythmic sound, really, it wasn't the pump jacks that scared me, but I didn't know what they were. But I'm thinking the reason that they were the noises that I heard from them, the sporadic, then the rhythmic, the louder, the softer. Only thing I can figure is it was because of the canyon. Maybe moisture in the air mixed with the rotary girder of the atmosphere and the something or other. I don't know, some scientific thing that I got no idea about. But anyway, point of that story is I was distracted by another noise, then a pig scared the crap out of me.
Well, you always gotta be real cognizant of those rotary girders, man.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll get you every time.
Exactly. Chris Farley said it best.
Right.
But that's pretty much all I got. I mean, as far as anything else I could tell you is just me. I'm an idiot, and I brought it on myself. So I'm going to save those stories for another time. But I'm going to pass the torch on the talking stick on to one of you guys.
Don't sell yourself short, especially that first one. Um, that you can really have some strange experiences when you're having some visual disturbances because of the dark,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't really see what something is. Because as everybody knows, an armadillo in the fall leaves can sound like it weighs 500 pounds.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and
Well, whenever you're trying to look at something that's blacker than the black around it, the harder you try to focus on it, the more it disappears. And that just, I don't know. That's the way your eyes work, I guess.
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, that's absolutely for sure. No, those are good stories, man. They really were.
Well, I appreciate it.
Perfect story for this.
Well, if you want, Mike, go ahead and tell us one of yours.
Okay. All right. So, I'm
It was on a night, much like tonight.
it was on a night much like tonight. I was tired from work. No, actually it was nothing really like tonight. And I'm a little bit older than you boys. I'm 51 years old, and I'm old and wore out and everything. So I've been around a little bit longer, and maybe seen a little bit more. I don't know. So maybe it's just my advanced years that got me some good stories. I don't know. But I grew up in southern Oklahoma, and in the country, and a lot of extended family living in the country, and you would always hear different stories about different things out in the woods. The whole story behind the Black Panther was always a big thing. Every couple of years there would be people saying a Black Panther was coming through. And scientists will tell you that Black Panthers aren't real. That there's no such animal here in the United States. But I've got family members that
Well, I would disagree with
swear
that
up and down
myself.
that they saw something that looked like a mountain lion, but
Right.
that was glossy jet black.
Yeah, I want to say
I
I've
didn't.
seen one of those in Lone Camp before. I'm almost positive I have.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. I mean,
I almost hit it in my truck.
there's too many people that have seen them crossing the road, and I don't buy the whole um, argument that, well, it's just a big house cat or just a mountain lion you saw, and somehow you thought it was black. That just don't make any sense to me.
No, especially when
But
your
I
headlights
never
hit it.
saw anything like that. But I mean, it's kind of just to give a kind of a backstory of the things I saw. But from an early age, um, I just absolutely loved being in the woods, being in trees, being in the country.
Hmm.
Being a place where if you stop talking, I mean, all you hear is bugs and crickets and maybe a cow,
Yeah,
you know, hollering on the next property over or whatever. I mean, you just
It's a,
always been a real big thing with me.
I love that,
it's
But
a,
man.
probably the biggest, or the story is kind of it's actually three different events that all kind of strangely happened in a very small area. And this place that all these events happened on was a 200-acre piece of property that was butted up on a couple sides to Lake Murray State Park in southern Oklahoma by Ardmore.
Yeah, I've been there.
Anyone that's Have you ever been to Lake Murray?
Yes, I have. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is a beautiful lake,
I was
and
throwing a cast net out for some bait fish, and I got a big old turtle. That was fun.
yeah, that is an absolute gem of a lake. That's a treasure. And the state park on that lake completely surrounds the lake. So all sides of the lake exists within the state park. And of course, no hunting in the state park. So the properties that bound the edges of the state park are always really, really thick with game because nobody hunts on the park,
Hmm.
or not supposed to hunt on the park. So you get a lot of game that come over into it. So I had a friend whose dad owned this 200 acres of land, and it was about the time, I think I was about 25. He invited me to start hunting with him. It's about the time I got married to my wife, and we lived the first couple years in Oklahoma. She moved up there before she realized that she wanted to get back to the great state of Texas as fast as she could,
Amen.
which completely understand. I love Oklahoma, but this is home now, you know.
right.
And there was and I want to try to kind of paint the picture of this area that we were in. The Carter County, which is the county that I grew up in, has kind of this unique geological feature that runs across it from the southeast to the northwest, and it's a line of it's all stratified rock that almost runs in these parallel ridge lines that run across the county. And they're very weathered. There's places where uh, they're round hills. You would really even or even think that they were rock. They kind of blend in, but there's a lot of places where the rocks stick out of the ground, and it's actually Lake Murray was built kind of in and amongst these ridges, and it kind of comes into the story because that ridge was on the far east side of this property, and the side of this ridge, the side of this hill was cleared, and it was just a great spot, and we had kind of patterned the deer uh, coming in there from one direction in the morning, from the opposite direction in the evening as they kind of made their way through this property, kind of going in and out of the state park. And there was a cattle trail because there had been cattle run on this place before, and a cattle trail that was down in the creek that was basically at the bottom of this ridge. And to get to this spot on the side of this hill, the side of this ridge that was cleared, we called it the buck field because uh, we'd seen a couple of big bucks up in this field before. The friend I was with actually had, I guess the next year had actually shot one of them. Really nice 8-point. So, coming up out of this creek was this, I guess, cattle trail, and cattle are notoriously lazy.
Oh yeah.
When they find an easy spot to walk, they will just walk a ditch in it. You know,
Absolutely.
you know. And so what we would do, we were lazy too, and so we would walk this cattle trail because it was pretty clear of briars and brambles and stuff where it wouldn't catch our clothes, and we could kind of silently come up to this and walk up this cattle trail coming out of this creek and get to the top and peer over the edge, and we could see this entire field before us. So we could look to see if there was any deer or other game on it before we got up in it. It's almost kind of using the cover of the land as a blind.
Gotcha.
So the first thing that happened was something that my friend told me, and this was actually the year before I started hunting with him.
I'll tell you what, Mike. I don't want to cut you off right there, but let's take a quick break right quick. We'll be right back,
Yeah.
and we'll continue. Hey, y'all. I wanted to take a moment to tell you guys about one of our sponsors. Not only are they one of our sponsors, but they are an incredible American company, and they sell fire starting gear. The name of this company is Bigfoot Bushcraft. Now, this stuff works exactly as it is advertised. You take one of those plugs, expose the fibers, one strike with that ferro rod, you got yourself a flame. A decent flame at that. And this flame will burn for 5 minutes or more. So you get that thing put on your tinder, and that's more than enough time to get yourself a sustainable fire. So be sure to head on over to bigfootbushcraft.com. Use discount code wileyroosterboys, all one word, at checkout for 15% off your order. And every order placed with our discount code helps support our show. So get on over there, get you some gear, and get you a fire. All right. Sorry about that, Mike. Please
No
continue.
no problem. I get long-winded on this story because let me tell you, when I get to the third part of this, I get chills now thinking about it. It was really freaky and just really weird. But
you're getting me all excited to hear it.
Yeah, he was hunting this, and he was walking up this trail. He was by himself, and imagine a creek bottom that is just thick post oaks, blackjack trees, just really thick, with this cattle trail that runs up out of this creek, and the bottom of this creek is just really thick in these post oak trees that are probably 6 or 8 inches in diameter. So the cover over you is really tight. As he's walking up this, he stops and he's getting ready to look over out into the buck field, and he hears something above him in the trees, and he said it sounded like someone taking a bowstring and just pulling it back a couple of inches and then letting it go, like plucking it. Not like a full draw, but he said it reverberated. Just, I don't even know how to imitate it to get it where it would come across here, but he said it was just strange. And the first thing he thinks is that someone's trespassing on the land and there's a bow hunter in a tree above him. So he stops and just starts looking around, and he's looking in all these trees and there's nothing there. So he just, he kind of passed it off as, maybe a trick. His ears playing a trick on him or something like that, and didn't think any more about it. Well, the next year, and this is probably I think this was actually in 95, I was walking on that same trail right where he was. He was at another part of the property, and I was coming up. We had kind of patterned these deer, and so I was basically doing the same thing as he was. And I get to that exact same spot, within like spitting distance, and I start hearing this thudding sound to my right. And the fence going across to the state park was only about 50 feet from me, and that creek continued on down and actually emptied into Lake Murray. And it's thick, and it's about probably at that point about a quarter mile from the highway that goes around Lake Murray. But this was in early December, freezing rain on the road. And for anyone that's ever hunted in Oklahoma, the hunting seasons are real short. Rifle season and muzzleloader season at the time were only 9 days each.
Yeah, I remember you telling us about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so on those short 9-day hunting seasons, I mean, you go every day because you just do not have much opportunity to go. So you just, every waking moment. I mean, you're trying to get out there because the season's about to be over. It's not like it is down here, which down here I think is a much better idea because I don't think it. I think it's a lot safer.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing is I'm hearing this thudding sound, and it wasn't really like a drum beat, but it was real regular. It was about 60 to 80 beats per minute. Probably went on for about 20 seconds and would stop and would start happening again. But the weird thing about it is it seemed to be coming from underground
Whoa.
to my right. It was like it was coming up from the ground right about it where the fence was.
Wow.
And so I stop and I'm looking and I can't see anything. And again, I just, at that time he hadn't told me the story that he had heard in that same area, hearing that twanging sound up above him in the tree. So I wrote it off as, my ears playing a trick on me. I never could really pin it down, but, so that's really those two little short episodes, which I have been long-winded and made a little bit longer than they were, kind of set up the third thing, which is when me and him were both there.
You got to set the stage, of course. That's creepy in itself, right now, right there. That's...
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this next one is weird. The next year it was, I believe, 96. That's the last year I lived in Oklahoma. No, I take that back. 97 was this might have been 95, 96, and 97 that these happened in. It was 3 years in a row. The last year that I lived up there that I hunted with him was 97. I came back in 98 because I had a doe tag and shot a doe off the place. But 97 was the last year I hunted full time because I was living there. Is me and him are together. And it's probably about 10:15 in the morning. And it is hellaciously cold. And we are going to walk up this trail. He's walking in front of me. He's about 20 feet in front of me. We're just still hunting, just going along, just basically stalking. And we're going to check the buck field. He's in front of me. When he gets to when he's coming up out of the creek, he stops. He holds up his hand, and he kind of motions and just tells me to hold on. And then I realize what he's doing. I see what he's doing. He slings his muzzle loader over his shoulder, and he's wearing these old ratty brown coveralls that he had, these insulated coveralls. Look like they'd seen better days. But I see what he's doing. He's taking a leak because, we've been hunting hard for 2 or 3 hours, and he hadn't, he needed to pee real bad. So, we're guys, and so I'm thinking, well, heck, I'll just go ahead and do it too since he's doing it. So I just kind of turn a little bit off to the side, get up against the tree, and I'm looking up at him, or I look up at him because I see him move, and he kind of turns to the left, and he's making a big stream of urine go into the air, like guys will do, like look how high I can pee. And he looks back at me, and he makes this stupid face. No big deal. Heck, I've seen this guy do this before. He's a goofball. We get done. We go up, get to the buck field, nothing out there. We stayed out there probably about another half hour. And by then we were both very cold. And he's like, well, let's go in, let's get back into Ardmore. So I'm like, heck yeah, man, I'm freezing. We make our way back to his truck. He lived in the middle of Ardmore, behind Taco Bell. And we get to his house. Takes about 10 minutes to get to his house. And we're talking, talking about the hunt, things like that. And we get to his house, and when he walks in his house, he lives in this is an older, small frame house. I believe it had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And his wife is sitting in the living room, and she is just hysterical. She's crying. She like jumps up and runs to him whenever we walk in the door, and he's like, what's going on? What happened? He thinks something is wrong. And I walk in behind him because I was going to come in and warm up before I headed home. And she tells him that about probably about 45 minutes before we get there, is she's woken up by the house was cold because it was, wasn't a really nice house. And I mean, probably the windows leaked and stuff. She said she woke up in bed and it was just ice cold. She felt like something was holding her down. Like there was something on her chest holding her down. And she was finally able to get up, finally able to work up the power to, she couldn't like feel anything on her physically, but it was like a presence was there.
Mm-hmm.
So she's able to get up. She walks into the living room. The living room is kind of a long rectangle, and at the end, there's one door leading into the kitchen. And she says she turns her head slowly to the left because she sees something. She looks through the door, and there's her husband, my friend, standing there with his muzzle loader slung over his shoulder in his ratty brown coveralls, and he's got a stream of urine going into the floor, and he is looking at her and making a stupid face.
Whoa.
She was seeing what I saw.
Whoa.
And she tells him that, and of course, he didn't see, she is describing exactly what I saw. Well, I don't even really think it occurs to him. And he's like, well, it's going to be okay and everything. And let me tell you something, I'm about to vomit.
Right.
Because I have got this, it scared me so bad that I just almost just started throwing up. Wow. And I'm going to tell you, for the next 2 or 3 days, I had trouble sleeping because of the whole incident. I couldn't get it out of my mind. Yeah, let me tell you something. It was a freaky, weird thing, and I would never want to be around anything like that again. I'm getting chills now thinking about it.
Man,
I got a hair stain on that.
Yeah, me too, man. That is crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. And the only thing that tied all three of those things together was the fact that they all happened within spitting distance of one another, the area. And I don't know whether that spot had some kind of weird energy.
Yeah.
Whether it had, you hear people talking about, well, the house was haunted because it was built on an old Indian burial ground, or whether there was some native thing that happened there or some tragedy that happened there. I don't know, but it was that was the weirdest thing that I have ever seen, heard, experienced. Anything that was creepy,
And that's
absolutely creepy.
wow.
I'm gonna tell you, you were talking about that. That's the first thing that came to my mind was, Oklahoma. In my mind, I always think Native American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to you think, you hear a lot of people saying that, and you think, well, that's just, I'm being lazy. I'm just assuming it's that, but I mean, it's really the only thing I can think of. There's, you had Indian tribes, the 5 civilized tribes coming from the deep South, and taking the Trail of Tears, which, was basically an Indian Holocaust.
Yeah.
Right.
Cost so many of them their lives, and, took their land, basically, destroyed their way of life. And, there's got to be a lot of bad energy that's connected with that. And absolutely. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but let me tell you something, that you couldn't pay me enough money to go back to that spot.
Yeah.
And when I went back the next year, I was at the opposite end of the property, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough. And I didn't go anywhere near that spot. But I couldn't get off the property fast.
That's some bad juju, man.
It's absolutely weird and strange. That was just, man, it was freaky.
Talking about the Indian, this didn't happen to me or anything, but me and John decided we were gonna go ahead and talk about this one because it was a spooky enough story. But a guy we work with, he's originally from California, real good guy.
We don't hold that against him.
Yeah, exactly.
He got here as fast as he could, right?
I mean, to tell you, if every Californian was like him, I wouldn't have a problem with moving to Texas.
Absolutely.
But he had told a story. Him and his dad It was in California, didn't it?
I,
Happen, John,
I believe he said he's in the salt flats or something like that.
like that. But they were out hunting, and I know he said it was cold as all get out.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a lot of snow on the ground too.
Yep. And him and his dad had been out hunting, and they tried to get some, didn't get nothing. So they came back to the horse truck, tried to get a fire going, try to warm up. And he said they tried and tried for a while, and they couldn't get a fire to take. So they finally just said the heck with it and crawled up. They had a camper shell in the back of the pickup, and that's where they were sleeping at for the night.
Hmm.
And he said they climbed up in there, and they're trying to sleep, And he said all of a sudden, middle of the night, while they're sleeping, they just hear a bang, bang, bang on the tailgate or somewhere on the truck. Of course, he's a little kid. He wakes up and he's like, "Dad, was that you?" And the dad's like, "No, that wasn't me." And they start looking out the windows of the camper shell.
Yeah.
And first thing they notice is there's a fire started out in that pit. And
Holy crap.
There's
didn't ever say anything,
no
but
footprints in the snow, no nothing.
no nothing. And I guess the thing I should have mentioned is he said it was on an old res, or I don't know
Yeah,
what it was. It had something to do with Indians. And
yeah,
that's how
Wow.
you don't know if old spirit came up and thought, these white guys are gonna die or what. I
yeah,
don't know, but he said that was the spookiest thing.
yeah.
Oh my God.
When he told us that story, man, that gave me chills. Because
It
I
did.
Oh
mean,
man, it's giving me chills now, man.
that's crazy.
Yeah, he said it
Good
was.
Lord.
I couldn't imagine that'd be wild. But stories I got
Wow.
really ain't gonna compare up to you guys neither. I ain't got a whole lot as far as that kind of spooky stuff. But my wife, she had a spooky time. You were talking about the lake. Well, back
Yeah.
home in Nebraska, we had Lake McConaughey, and it was a state park. But I can't remember exactly what day. Towards hunting season is when they'd lift the ban on hunting. I mean,
Hmm.
they had a certain area that was so many miles that was still, it was just a wildlife refuge. You couldn't, it was off limits. But the rest of it, they'd open up. You could do duck, goose hunting, deer, whatever. But I guess that's kind of besides the point. But my wife and them were out there, and we were all young bucks, and that's where we went to go drink our beer or whatever. When we were younger, and she was out there with some friends. It was a cool evening, but they were sitting in the pickup, and she said they're just sitting in there, just talking away, having a good time. And all of a sudden, they felt something in the back of the truck, like it jumped into the back of the truck, and it's pitch black out. And they're looking out the window, and they can't see a dang thing. And I mean, they kind of looked around and really didn't want to get out of the truck to let her out. Got their lights on, they couldn't see nothing. She said they hightailed it the heck out of there.
Didn't you say that like bottom the suspension out whenever it happened?
Yeah, I mean, she said she swears she thought it was Bigfoot. She said, I mean, it was heavy. Like this little pickup, I actually drive it now. It's a little half-ton Chevy, and I mean, it don't take much to make that thing hop. She said it hopped.
Wow.
I don't know what it was. I wasn't there for that one. She said it was crazy as all get out.
Yeah, I'd have got out of there quick, man. That's Chupacabra coming after me.
Yeah. My story is really when I was hunting. Told John this one. Uh, really wasn't spooky. It was just odd, real odd. I don't know.
Hmm.
I was pretty young. I might have been 11, 12 years old. I was out with my dad. We were out hunting. Well, it was my dad's uncle Keith. Actually, I always called him Uncle Keith too, but it was Grandpa's brother, obviously. But we'd always go up there every year. He had a bunch of land. That's where we'd go hunt. And there was a bunch of alfalfa bells. They had stacked them, two on the bottom, one on the top. And there was 3, 4 lines of them. Well, we finally that evening we kind of tucked into one. We were just waiting to see if we could get something. You guys getting? I think it was our last night there. But we finally had a doe walk out. My dad was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take her." And he went ahead and lined up, shot. Well, it didn't drop her. She took off running. And we go around, we start trying to follow, and you see where she went down this one row of bells, and then the tracks has stopped. Well, we found her on the other side, but you couldn't see because there was snow on the ground. You'd think you would have seen the tracks of her trying to climb up over them bells on the other side, but I
Hmm.
don't know how in the world she got over there. Like I said, that one really isn't a spooky one, but it was just a real odd one
That is
because I don't
weird.
know how she got to the other
No,
side.
man, Rooster, I disagree. That's pretty damn spooky.
Hmm.
It was really odd. It just like I said, because you could see the tracks clear as day going down the other aisle, and then she was on the aisle over, and that was the only thing
Now
we.
what?
She hopped them
Yeah.
round bells, but we never seen any tracks. No,
Well, and you can always tell the tracks from whenever they jumped.
uh-huh.
Like it's like I don't know what you would call them, but there's an obvious difference between their normal gait or a run or a jump. You can always tell.
Yes.
Yeah, they've got you'll see a little bit of drag mark or something, or the shape of them will be different.
Yeah, that's weird.
It was real weird. Like I said, it wouldn't. I don't know. Like I said, yours was definitely the spookiest one.
Yeah,
In
Mike,
my,
you take the trophy on that one, man. That's
it was
weird.
real odd.
Well, you know, I people told me, well, you're good at telling stories. Well, I might be good at telling stories, but as God is my witness, that is what happened. That is definitely what happened. But man, the whole thing about the deer getting from one row of bells to the other is extremely strange to me.
Yeah,
That is a weird
it,
thing.
it was really weird. Now, the last story I have, this has nothing to do with hunting, nothing like that. But this was probably the spookiest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Um, I grew up. I always say Oglala, Nebraska, but technically I didn't live in Oglala. I lived in Roscoe. It was about 7, 8 miles to the east. Uh, just a little town. Kind of reminds you of Lone Camp, John. It's
Okay.
the town population was about 75. Um,
Oh wow, that's tiny.
we had yeah, we had a gas station for a little bit and they closed down, but that was all we ever had. Anyhow, me and my mom, and I was just a little bugger. I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, and we went to town. I don't remember get dinner or something, and we were driving back. We were probably 3, 4 miles out, and all of a sudden we couldn't make out a shape. We couldn't make out anything, but there was this bright orange glow just sitting there. Them clouds that were real low, weren't moving fast, but there was just a bright orange glow right above the clouds. And, it's pitch black out, so that thing stuck out like a sore thumb. We're like, what in the world is that? Well, we got closer to it, and it was just still sitting there. And then we kind of pull off the side of the road, and we're looking at it. About that time, it starts moving, and it starts heading towards Roscoe.
Hmm.
So we start following it. I mean, we're obviously heading home too, but my mom's interested. I'll get out, but I remember her, she was freaked out. But this thing starts just going, and we're just following it all the way to Roscoe. And it just got to the east side of the Roscoe. Like it had been picking up speed slowly, and then once we got to the east side of Roscoe, that thing shot off like a rocket, and it was gone, man. And I remember it clear as day to this day. And my mom will still tell you that was one of the weirdest things that ever happened in my life.
That's weird.
Wow, that is strange.
It didn't make anything out, dude. It was just an orange orb, like you know,
But how big
them
was it?
clouds that are real. It's real cloudy out and they're real low.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was that night. It was just
How big
real
was
low
it?
cloud. And, dude, it lit up the sky pretty good.
But you couldn't make
Wow.
out a shape of it. It was just
No,
the
we
ambient
couldn't.
glow.
All you could see was just through them clouds, this big orange glow.
That's
But
crazy.
it was just odd because it sat there forever, and it seemed like as soon as we stopped on the side of the road and started looking at it, is when it started moving, and it just started kind of going faster and faster. We were doing probably 65 or so, just cruising right along with it. And then once we got to the other side of Roscoe, I think this shot, and I don't know, man, no idea. It was the weirdest thing.
It's crazy how things like that can happen, and it's several people have stories like that. Like any of the stories that, well, you guys shared. You guys actually have some spooky things that happened. Mine was just because I'm an idiot, but um, things like that happen to people is so rare that a lot of times folks don't want to believe those stories. But me personally, yeah, I wholeheartedly believe those things because
Oh, yeah.
how can you have that many people experience similar, not the same, but similar experiences? You can't discount all those,
No, no.
I
No,
mean,
you sure can't.
that'd be like the best game of telephone anybody's ever played in the history of the world.
And like Mike said, John, I wouldn't beat yourself up on yours because I totally get that, dude. That's spooky as all get out what you had. You guys might have had similar experiences, but Nebraska, we had mountain lions. Wasn't a
Hmm.
big deal. And there'd be times. There was one time too. I can tell you, I was out there seining minnows on the river, and I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I didn't have no gun on me or nothing. I was just going down to get minnows so I could go fishing. And sitting there, putting them in a bucket. And I happen to just look, and here's these big old mountain lion tracks, and I'm just sitting here crouched down, and I was like, "Oh man,
Uh-oh.
that make the hair on your neck stand up." You kind of get pretty alert when you see something like that. So
Hmm.
I mean, I was in a hurry getting out of there. I can tell you that.
Yeah, when you're dealing with something that could eat you,
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
that'll cause some consternation.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yep.
we are just about out of time. Man, I love this. This was fun. I'm really glad we did this. Um, Folks, for you listening, I hope you enjoyed it. We mentioned earlier that should you choose to, there's a support link for the show. That is completely up to you. If you want to donate, don't want to donate, just want to listen, that's completely fine. But be sure to check out Texas Wiles, Wiley Rooster Boys, Rooster Outdoors. Um, and I'm also going to drop a link, if I remember, in the description of this episode about Goatman. I'm not going to go into the story of this because that would take a very long time. But Goatman is a legend around the DFW area, Denton County, I believe it is. But check out that link. Definitely check out that link and read up on it because you want to talk creepy? That's creepy.
That is some creepy stuff. My wife's told me stories.
Yeah.
Very, very creepy. I've read some of those. I'll check that link out.
Yeah,
That is some creepy stuff.
yeah. But anyway, guys, like I said, please check out the channels. Please rate the podcast, share the podcast.
Mike,
Yes,
I
sir.
want to say thank you for coming back on, man. And it's
Man, I
always,
want to say thank you
Absolutely.
it's always a pleasure.
Well, I want to say thank you for having this old chunk of coal back on the show because I sure enjoy it.
Oh,
No, man, you don't understand how much we appreciate it. We enjoy the heck out of it.
and
It's
before
always
we go, Mike, if you
Yeah.
listened to last week, we kind of made a deal with the listeners that involves you. I got to quit doing that. But once we hit,
Oh man, I am. Let me tell you something. I am totally on board with it. As a matter of fact, I wanted to say this: that I have been super busy with knife stuff over the last 2 or 3 weeks. That really, I think making that one blade for you kind of whet my appetite for it.
well, good.
And Rooster, I got something for you,
yeah, buddy. I
and
can't
I'll
wait.
get with you. I'll get with you here pretty soon, and get it to you. Um, and it's got some couple other things. I might even try to take some pictures in a little bit, and I'll send them to y'all
Oh
and
yeah,
show you some of the stuff I've been working on.
good deal. And you know
But
what? I will put some of those pictures on the Wiley Rooster Boys Facebook page because you know if you guys listened last week, once we hit 10 subscribers, or not 10 subscribers, sorry, 10 supporters, what we're going to do is of those 10 supporters, our plan, Mike, this is news to you. Our plan is the giveaway that we're going to do for one of those 10 supporters is going to be a knife from Mike.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, You. I think you had mentioned it to me.
Okay,
But
good,
yeah,
good, good.
dude, I am 100% on board, man.
Because I'm telling you
Um,
guys, there's no way we can describe it in detail enough about how amazing Mike's knives are. Okay, let me tell you this: the knife that he made for me, I took it out there on that challenge. I carved. You guys saw the video. I carved. I cut up fish. I was smacking rocks with it. All that stuff. To date, I have yet to put that knife back on a stone to sharpen it. Only thing I have done is give it a few swipes on a leather strop here and there, and that knife still shaves perfectly. So I'm telling
I'm a
you,
witness. I am a witness.
Mike's handiwork, guys, is just you need to be doing this professionally, Mike. You're awesome.
Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in quite a while.
It's
I
it's
appreciate that.
it's all truth, man.
Yep, yep.
But anyway, guys, like I said, once we hit those 10 supporters, we're going to do a giveaway. Please check out the YouTube channels, rate the podcast, share the podcast. And I guess until next time, well, first of all, happy Halloween. But until next time, guys, God bless
Happy
y'all.
Halloween, everybody.
Absolutely. God bless y'all. We'll see y'all later.
Say it.